In today's tutorial, we are going to start draping a basic bodice. Hi friends, welcome back to So Obvious. I'm a Polaner. In my last video, we learned how to prepare your muslin to start draping a basic bodice. In today's tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to actually drape the basic bodice and how to cut away all the excess fabric. So the three basic tools besides our muslin we're going to use today are our pins, our pen, and scissors. I recommend smaller scissors just because they create more precise cuts and it can smoothen everything out a little bit better in the end. So first, let's position our muslin that we created. Here is the grain line. This is where we pressed it in and marked it. This is actually the center front. So what we want to do is line it up with the center front of our mannequin and pin it in place. One thing to keep in mind when pinning muslin on a mannequin is you always want to pin towards the center of your work. We want to make sure that we pin all the way up to the neckline and to the waist seam, because that is where this garment or this pattern is going to end. So here we have a nice straight line all the way across. Now, if you remember when I talked to you guys about the style lines on mannequins, one of the most important things to remember was the bust point. So that's the next thing we're going to work on. You want to make sure that this is as smooth as possible. You want to keep it as smooth as possible. No puckers in here. Go straight across. Then we're going to feel for the side seam, which if you press your fabric against it, you'll see all these little bumps. We're going to pin towards our work, essentially towards the bust point. We got our side seam. We're going to keep smoothing down the side seam, and we're going to put pins until we get down here to the waist seam. So that should take about 2 more pins, smoothing it out, and towards the work. Smooth it out again. Once you get to the waist seam, put 1 more pin towards your work. Keep in mind you want to do this as smooth as possible. You don't want to pull too tight. You don't want to leave it too loose because that will shift some of the fibers in it. And if you transfer it to a fabric that isn't very stretchy, it's going to look very tight and pull in all along places. Okay, now we're going to work down here in the waist seam. And this is going to create our dart. Right here, all the way across here, going through the bust point up to the mid-shoulder point, we have the princess seam. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our fabric, smoothing it out across the waist seam until we get to the princess seam, which is about right here. Then we're going to stop. Then we're going to smooth it out from the side seam towards the princess seam, and it's essentially going to look like this by the time we get done. And that's where we're going to create our dart. So we're going to smooth it out. The princess seam is right here. And since we're on the bottom, I always try to pin going straight up. And then we're going to go from this side towards that very same point. So I kind of have the 2 pins. One's going in at this angle and the other one's going in at this angle. So they're creating an X. This part of our draping looks just fine. But when you go to this side, you might notice that your fabric is pulling a little bit. Not too much, just enough to cause you to kind of freak out inside. That's where these scissors come in. So because we know that all this fabric here is essentially not needed, we're going to cut it. You don't need to be precise, it doesn't have to look pretty. You're just trying to get it out of the way and out of our hair. We are going to clean it up later. We just want it the hell out of here. Goodbye. Now that it's shorter, in order to get rid of these little puckers, we're going to cut up into, well, not into, up to the waist seam. It's going to relax a little bit and breathe, and it's going to get rid of those puckers. You'll see what I mean once we cut into it. So here I'm gonna go slowly, and see how we get rid of that pucker right there. Now I'm gonna keep going this way, up to our waist seam. See, it's starting to relax. And all that little pulling is really not there anymore. All you see is the actual waistline. So now that we got all that little puckering out of the way, we are going to start drawing our waistline. So I like to place my pen, the tip of my pen, right in the middle of the waistline here, this little tape that we have. And we're gonna go from the center front all the way across until we get to where our pin is. Then we're gonna come over to this side, start from the pin, all the way across to the side seam. Again, you wanna try and keep your pen right in the middle of that tape. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be very pretty. We'll clean it up once we take it off the mannequin, cut it, and put it on paper, because then we'll get to use our rulers to really make everything nice and straight and smooth. And since we're here, we've got our side seam right here. We're just gonna go straight up to about an inch down from the armhole, about right there. And we're just gonna draw a line all the way down until we meet the corner of the waist. And we're going to work on the dart. The dart is essentially a tool that we use in sewing to create shape or get rid of extra fabric. And that's what this is right here. So we are going to create essentially a triangle starting from down here up towards the bust point to get rid of all this extra fabric. So the first thing you want to do is find the bust point, which is essentially the center of the breast, which is where your nipple will be. So I'm going to put a point right there. We are going to kind of pinch this fabric together and push the pin through both sides to pin it in place. And this is just to give us a more solid foundation of where we want the dart to go. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be pretty. We will shape it all up when we put it on paper. Now, if you're working on a different mannequin than the one that I'm working on, the dart shaping might be a little bit different for you. This one's got a bit of a curve to it. You can look here, it kind of curves up. There is some where it'll be just a straight line all the way down, and that's fine. Now that we have the pins in place, we're gonna go bring our pen back. Your more defined dart is, I like to kind of pull the extra fabric to whichever side I'm standing on. So if I'm standing on this side, I'm gonna pull this fabric this way, put my pen in the groove, and kind of go against the grain, creating this line for my dart. There we go. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't have to be pretty. And you want to have it, make sure you end it at the bust point. And see, that's the line, that's where it looks like, that's where it folds. I'm going to go over to this side. I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to take my pen and put it right here in this groove. I'm going to pull the fabric towards my pen to create more tension, so that I get a more precise dart. And we ended up here by the bust. That's our dart. So now we have our center seam is done, our waist seam and our dart are done, our side seam. Now we have to work on our neckline and our shoulders. So let's start with the shoulder seam first, because that is going to be our easiest. Because it's just a straight line. I'm gonna smooth this fabric as much as I can, put a pin towards my work, right here at the seam. And then we're going to smooth out our fabric as much as we can right up until our shoulder line meets our neckline. And push a pin towards my work. Maybe not. What do you do? There we go. Okay. So this line should be nice and smooth. What we're going to do is with our fingers, we're going to feel where the seam is, and that's where we're going to take our pen and draw a line straight across. We need to create an armhole that creates from the bottom of our armhole, which is the top of our side seam, around here to the top of our shoulder. Now this one you can kind of create on your own. It kind of depends on what you're trying to do. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can kind of just create a very basic armhole. You can make it really high up, you can lower it down, you can really push it in there, but I would recommend just keeping it nice and simple. I'm going to put a pin right here in this corner to keep it from moving around too much. And if you want all this fabric that we got right here is extra, we can go ahead and just cut it off. Get out. I was hoping it would go further. Okay, so now the last thing we have to deal with is our neckline. Now you can see here that it's doing a lot of pulling. It's very tight, much like it was right here, but because the curve, I'll open this side, because the curve here is a lot more severe than the curve right here, it's pulling a lot more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it straight across here to get rid of this point to make it easier for us to see. Now we have it here. I'm going to do essentially what I did down here by cutting up to the line, but we're actually going to be cutting down to the neckline, essentially about right here. Now, and this is why I said the smaller scissors are much better, because they are easier to manipulate. Fabric and smaller. And see, even with just those two clippings, it is so much smoother right there. Because there's no stress there. It's kind of helping it relax. And just like that, nice and smooth and lots of ease. So now we're going to do what we did with the recipes, is we're going to find the neckline, which is right here. We're going to find the shoulder line, the high neck point actually, which is right there. And then we're going to follow this seam right here in the mannequin to draw a nice curved line. And this is basically the bodice right here. Now, if you wanted, we could have done the dart here on the side instead of on the middle. We could have done the dart into the armhole, into the neckline, into the shoulder, down into the corner. The dart can really be rotated anywhere, but that's something we'll deal with in the future. For now, let's just do the most basic one, and we'll get at it. Now that we have everything in place, we're going to trim off all this excess crap. We don't want it here. It doesn't want to be here because it's going to be useless. So let's just put it out of its misery and throw it into the garbage. I mean, if you really want to, you can cut right up to those lines that you've drawn, but it is very easy to cut right through them. And I wouldn't feel bad for you because you were the idiot who decided to cut right up to it. So. And here we have the front bodice draped. Now in my next video, I'm actually going to show you how to drape the back bodice. And then once we get that done, we're going to take it off, square everything off, kind of clean up all the lines, transfer them onto paper, and then we're going to create our pattern pieces. If you like today's video, make sure that you like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the bell. You can also follow me on Instagram on @polylook, where I post some of my upcoming projects and any videos that I will be posting on here. If you didn't like the video, what are you still doing here? Okay, bye.